Believe it or not, Toyota has single-handedly put hybrids on the global map, and it all began with the Prius, then the Camry, and the RAV4 globally. Here in India, we have already got a taste of the technology with cars like the Prius and the Camry. And now, with this all-new urban cruiser Hyryder, Toyota is bringing this technology to the masses and at a price point which is much more accessible. Now we have already driven the Hyryder, and if you want to watch that video, then click somewhere over here. As for this video, I'm going to fully concentrate on this hybrid system and how it works. I'm also going to talk about its real-world benefits, which would of course include its mileage for both city and highway driving. So do stay tuned. What you get here is a 1.5-litre 3-cylinder naturally aspirated unit, which makes 91 horsepower. Now what makes this car a strong hybrid is the additional power source, which includes an electric motor and a small lithium-ion battery pack. The electric motor makes 59 kilowatts, which is around 80 bhp and 141 Newton meters of torque, right from 0 till almost 4000 rpm. And like the petrol engine, it sends power to the front wheels, though under limited conditions. The total system output is around 115 bhp, all of which is transferred through what Toyota calls an eCVT. Driving the urban cruiser Hyryder requires some getting used to, and it is an experience for your sensory organs. So for instance, when you press the start button and put it in drive, this car will always move forward on EV mode. There is no noise or any vibrations, and the only indication of this car moving forwards in EV mode is through the visuals on the main display. Now the real caveat here is that all of this is entirely dependent on how well you can feather that accelerator pedal. Because even if you prod on it slightly, the system will detect it and it will fire up the petrol engine in no time. Press on it a little too hard and the hybrid system will engage the petrol engine. At this point, the engine is not only driving the front wheels, but also recharging the small battery. What we also notice is that if you start this car and the battery level is low, then it will move forward on electric power alone. But as soon as you touch the throttle pedal, the petrol engine would come into play. Toyota says that this car can be driven on electric power alone for up to 50 to 60% of the time in our urban conditions. Okay, so that's a big claim considering how small the battery pack is, but I also get where they're coming from. So it's obvious that all the built up areas in any city are usually congested and your average speeds would be quite low, especially when you're dealing with traffic. Now there are some limitations when it comes to using the EV mode. Of course, it will not engage when the battery percentage drops below a certain level, and even when it's fully charged and you are in hybrid mode, the system will fire up the petrol engine if you go hard on the throttle or if it senses that there is load on the car. Thankfully, there are no vibrations when this engine comes into play, and that's despite it being a 3-cylinder unit. Unfortunately, you are no longer driving in silence, and because there is a CVT gearbox transferring the power to the front wheels, you will have to deal with the engine revving higher than usual, especially when you're making an overtake or accelerating hard. There are 3 drive modes with this hybrid system: normal, eco, and power. Now under normal and eco modes, the Hyryder is fairly quick, but if you load it up with 4 people and some luggage, then it feels a bit labored. In sport, however, it does feel more energetic both in terms of throttle response and outright acceleration. So there's another mode called B, which in theory recovers extra energy under braking, but in the real world, the level of energy recovery is marginally better, though it does help in charging the battery faster, ultimately allowing you to be dependent on EV mode more often, which is a good thing. What's not so good is the pedal feel under braking. Now because this system charges up its battery when you're going off throttle or applying the brakes, the actual pedal feel is inconsistent and it's quite mushy, and overall it's just something that you'll have to get used to. Now that we are on our way to the fuel station, it's time to find out just how efficient the strong hybrid setup is for the urban cruiser Hyryder. As usual, we will fill up its tank to the brim, drive around a predefined route for city and highway runs as we do for all the cars that we test, come back to the same fuel station and fill up the tank again. Okay, so we have done exactly 81.7 kilometers in our city route, for which this car used up 4.6 liters of petrol. And as for the highway, we covered 93.1 kilometers, for which it took only 3.4 liters. So that's 17.7 kilometers per liter in the city and 28.2 kilometers per liter in the highway. Now, these are some incredible figures from a car that weighs as much as 1300 kilograms. So, how did it get so close to its claimed fuel efficiency of 27.97 kilometers per liter? Let's break it down. So, we started and ended our fuel efficiency runs in comfort mode because it's the default mode every time you get in and start the car. After filling up the tank, the MID showed us distance to empty range of around 600 kilometers, but by the end of the test, it actually went up to 770 kilometers, which gives us a fair idea of just how far you can go in this hybrid vehicle before filling up. In city driving conditions, the EV mode kicks in as soon as you let go of the throttle or apply braking. Naturally, this happens quite often in stop and go traffic, and that allowed the car to switch to EV mode and save fuel. However, we noticed that in B mode, the regen is surprisingly audible, even at highway speeds. Speaking of which, what's also surprising is that this car will run at speeds of up to 80 to 85 kmph on EV mode, as we found out during our highway fuel efficiency run. This is largely why the urban cruiser Hyryder is so efficient at highway speeds. So that's how the hybrid system in the urban cruiser Hyryder works in the real world. And you know what? It's just as efficient as what Toyota claims. And as for the rest of the package, it's a car that we can recommend without second thoughts if you are looking for a no-nonsense, proper self-charging hybrid for less than 25 lakh rupees. In fact, at rupees 22.45 lakhs on road, the urban cruiser Hyryder is a great choice. But if you're willing to do without the fancy features and all you want is a highly fuel efficient crossover that works both in the city and on the highways, then you could get the entry-level S variant instead, which is less than 18 lakh rupees on road. So that's it from us for this video. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you like what you see, and let us know in the comments if you are thinking of buying the urban cruiser Hyryder or the Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara Hybrid.